Good morning. Welcome to Wyndridge Farms. Place is lovely. I don't know if everybody else got a chance to see the sunset on the way in, or sunrise. I apologize. The sunrise. Getting there. It was a lovely sight coming over the hill and seeing the farm lit up with the sun. And wanted to thank the Groffs for hosting. Steve and Julie, thank you very much. I don't know where they're seated. They're right in front of me. Thank you very much for hosting today. My name's Mark Sindicich. I'm the current chair of the York County Convention and Visitors Bureau, and I own Victor's Italian Restaurant, so that's my connection to the industry. And today's presentation, we're actually recording live. It's on Facebook at Explore York. And also want to take the first couple of comments to thank our other sponsors for the day, York College and its hospitality management program, the Susquehanna Heritage, First Energy Foundation, Members First Federal Credit Union, Getaway on Display, and SDP Creative. Looking around, today's crowd is truly a testament to the strong and vibrant local tourism industry. I think we're all blessed that we have a lot of things to share with the outside community, and it's nice to see it well supported here today. Also like to recognize our elected officials who joined us today, our county commissioners, Doug Hoke and Susan Burns, and Representative Kristen Phillips-Hill is also with us. In addition, we've got representatives from the offices of Stan Saylor and Carol Hill Evans. I want to thank everybody there. It's a competitive business, obviously. We're all struggling with that on a daily basis, but the support has allowed us to make some key investments in York and going to allow us to keep York County tourism very strong. We're happy to showcase this in the stunning location today. I don't know if everyone's been in this location before, but this is absolutely mind-blowing kind of operation here. Steve and Julie have built Wyndridge into quite a destination in just a few years. And we'd like to get Steve up here to say a few words and introduce himself and tell you a little about it.
Thank you, Mark. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, my name is Steve Groff, and on behalf of my wife, Julie, and my son, Taylor, who's in the back of the room, Taylor's our COO, we welcome you here. And for those of you who've not been here before, welcome. We'd love to show you around later after the event. We're excited to host this event for the second time in 3 years. We're excited to welcome Peter Greenberg here as keynote speaker. We had a great dinner last night here at the farm. He is an entertaining, worldly, and very enjoyable guest, and look forward to hearing his comments here this morning. It's great to see such a large turnout from the industry, one that's so important, as Mark said, to the health and vibrancy of our city and county. My family and I are thrilled to be part of this growing industry of travel and tourism. This is something new to us. My wife has been a nurse and a farm manager her life. I've been a farm boy and orthopedic surgeon, and Taylor spent his years after West Virginia in sales and joined us a few years ago. So the hospitality and tourism industry is new to us, but we've had an incredible 3-year journey, and again, we're glad you're here with us. So in 3 years, we've developed a business here on our farm. We moved here in 2000 to have some farm experience for our kids, and never expected to do this. We've developed a beverage brand and a manufacturing facility here on the farm, along with marketing components that include event space like this, and a restaurant, and a culinary program. Our beverages are sold in 9 states along the East Coast, and that's been a fun journey building a hard cider and craft beer brand. Next year, on the events side, we expect to host over 80 weddings and over 100 corporate and social events. So we have a great team, a wedding planner, wedding salesperson Shayla, and Molly, who's here and handles our corporate events. So we have a great team that's helped build that business. We're working with several local music promoters, something we've developed over the last few months, to grow our music program. For 2018, we look forward to local, regional, and national touring acts here on the farm, with small shows here in this barn, and some outdoor events that we look forward to announcing in 2018. So Partnerships are very important to us. We work with a number of you here today. Currently, many of our guests stay at hotels in the area. We developed a great relationship with that. We work with Brown's Orchard. I'm sure many of you know Brown's Orchard, a third, fourth generation company in Loganville. Dave Brown now heads it up after Stan, his father, passed a few months ago. We have a great relationship with them. We buy raw apple juice from them to make our hard cider using locally pressed apples. It's a great relationship we cemented here recently, and we're now working together to market agritourism, family-owned businesses and farms in York County. We recently opened a retail experience at Brown's, something new. I know Brown's had Logan's View wine there, but we started doing some pouring at some of Brown's events, and we also have a permanent retail shop now at Brown's, so that's an exciting relationship we've built. We worked together to host the first Fall Fest here at the farm in October. Brown's was a big supporter of it. We had over 2,000 people on a lovely Sunday afternoon for music and good times and some food trucks, and that was a great event, our first one, so we're excited to continue with those types of events. I grew up in a dairy farm in Lancaster County, Strasburg, if you will, small town, and part of that farm ultimately became part of Sight and Sound Theater. I'm sure most of you have heard of Sight and Sound Theater, an amazing story of the last 30 years in Lancaster County. So I've seen firsthand what bringing top-notch quality to a region, even like Strasburg, can do to a community as far as economic engine. It's pretty remarkable. So I left the farm in the early 1980s, went to college, and decided to go to orthopedic surgery. I became a spine surgeon. Married Julie, who was a nurse, and we had 3 kids. And we moved here in 1996 to start practicing orthopedic surgery, never expecting to enter the hospitality field. Little did I know when we bought this raw farmland in 2000, it's an 80-acre farm. It was called Wyndridge Farm. It's been owned by old Doc Hoover, who was a family doctor. Philip Hoover was a family doctor in Dallastown for many years, practiced till he was 90. So he owned this farm, didn't live here. He lived down the road, actually. And Phil passed, and Ben Hoover, who's another prominent internist here in York, had the farm with his sisters. None of them wanted to live here or own the farm, and so we were able to buy it in 2000. And the idea was we would raise our kids here with cattle and horses and an old barn, and we built a house up the driveway in 2000, so life was great. I was in a bad bicycle accident in 2011 and kind of changed my life, and this whole thing would have never happened if it wasn't for that crazy bike accident. So we never expected to end up, that our journey would end up here with this type of facility, this type of group sitting here on the farm, but it's pretty darn exciting. So Lancaster County has something special for sure, and it always will. But it's amazing to see how people in this room have shaped York's image and helped showcase its bountiful assets. York has a tremendous amount of things going for it and an exciting future. And we're happy to be part of telling the story and showcasing some of the natural wonders of our county. We can compete with Lancaster, Gettysburg, Baltimore by focusing on our strengths and continuing to up all our games by bringing quality, creativity, ambition, and even some audacity. So I say cheers to us all. Let's keep pushing the ball forward. Again, thanks for coming out this morning, and enjoy the day.
Thank you, Steve. We really appreciate being here. I'd like to start by recognizing a few other folks that you may or may not know. The board of directors. If you're here, could you please stand so we could recognize you? This all-star group of volunteers brings expertise, passion, and insightful guidance to the CVB. They work behind the scenes, but their efforts have an incredible impact on that industry. I'd also like to recognize the staff at the CVB. They are rock stars in themselves. I think if you've had any working relationship with them, I think you know how hard they work and how diligent they are. I'd like to have them stand. There's a lot of them. I think they're all maybe here. So if they get a chance to stand up and also be recognized. The York County Convention and Visitors Bureau is one of 7 destination marketing organizations in Pennsylvania accredited by the Destination Marketing and Accreditation Program. It's a real standout. There are times, though, that staff members truly go beyond their duties on a day-to-day basis. Recently, there was a meeting at a local restaurant, and Susan Sims, who is with us today, had a health issue. And during that time, we had two other staff members, thankfully, with her at the time, Diane Yoakum and Tina Smith, who jumped into action right away. And thanks to their quick response, Susan's with us this afternoon, or this morning. And we want to say hello and recognize Susan and Tina and Diane, if you're there. If you want to stand also, please, so we can give you a little round of applause, because that was a superhero effort. Even when heroism isn't required at the CVB, they do put in the maximum effort. The work has made 2017 a pretty exciting year. We started with the, did I hit the button there? Sorry about that. The York County Commissioners helped us increase the tax. Got an issue there? Maybe use this. How's that? York County Commissioners, working with us and everyone else, helped us increase the tax for the local rooms, and raised quite a bit of money this year, which we've all dumped back into the CVB and the grant program. It received $737,000 this year, up from $462 the year before. It also allowed us to start the grant program. The grant program has allowed us to invest almost $1 million into different programs this year. And we just announced the smaller grants in October. The larger grants were in the winter, if I'm not mistaken, and we have another round coming up for this year. So if you have any great ideas, please take a look at putting a grant application in and trying to continue to add to York County's activities. Some of the grants that were already used, you probably saw on the way in. We have the Bailey bus that was decorated, showing off a lot of the highlights of York County. Spring Grove had Smoke in the Grove barbecue competition, which brought quite a few people out. And we've also been able to increase a lot of participation of children in athletic sports, and sports has been a big piece of the grant application process, the grants, and a lot of what brings people to York to help cultivate not only the community, but hopefully to keep some of the younger people in the area and bring people in from outside the area that haven't been exposed to York to hopefully give us some consideration when they're choosing a place to work and live. Pennsylvania Restaurant and Lodging Association honored the grant program with its Spirit of Hospitality Innovation Award this year. Once again, York kind of setting the trend. I think that tax had gone in statewide. Like I said earlier, the commissioners were kind enough to help us through that process and work with it in York County, but the rest of the state is following York when it comes to how we're investing that money, what we're using it for, and really driving an economic engine that is York. It takes a lot of hard work from many people to make tourism industry flourish, and that includes everyone gathered here today. The York County Convention and Visitor Bureau partners, the lifeblood of our industry. Thank you for making York County a great place to live, play, and work. We're very blessed as the CVB to work with each one of you. Every year at this event, we hear from some of our partners. This year's speaker will certainly be familiar. Tom Perry's family has been farming in York County more than 90 years, and there's a good chance you've enjoyed some of the fruits of his labors. I know my family has been in and out of that store a million times, and I have to say the products are fabulous. And I've had the pleasure to get to know Tom and Donna and a lot of the rest of the family over the years, and really enjoyed what they've brought to York County. Working at dairy farms, one of the most popular factory tours in York County, and it's on the factory tour, Capital of the World tour that we do each year. Perrydale's a true experience. Guests can see how a true farm operates and gain a better perspective on the work that happens on farms all across America. Perrydale will be again on the tour this year, and that event will be in June. 2018's event will be even more special because it marks the 20th anniversary of the tour. And we'll be celebrating American ingenuity we see all around York County. Perrydale is a part of a unique story. I'd like to bring Tom up to say a few words and tell us a little bit more about being a member of the CVB.
Thank you for having us. What a beautiful place. Merry Christmas, everybody. Up until the early 1920s, my grandfather farmed a farm down here in the Hollow. And if I would have known they were going to build a brewery here, I kind of wish we would have. I wouldn't have to drive anywhere for good beer. But after they sold that farm, it was called Mapledale Farm. We ended up buying the property over in Lear Heights. We were just a general farm until after World War II, when my father and my uncle decided to specialize in dairy. And they plugged along until the early 1960s, when they decided to market our own milk products there on the farm. Plugged along again, and finally I did the best thing I could possibly do, marry my wife, and she started making ice cream early part of this century. And she also had the crazy idea of hooking up with the Visitors Bureau. I thought, what the hell do we want to go to visit? We're a stinky farm. Cows getting loose, my brothers have crappy equipment all over the place. It has been the best experience ever. We've tried print media, news media, magazines. We've tried state programs to promote our business. I can't say they have all failed miserably, but compared to the York County Visitors Bureau and staff, they have. These people have done a wonderful job. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. Obviously, we have some great storytellers in our community. We are blessed. And as Steve said, we have bountiful assets and natural wonders. Stories are how destinations can connect to potential visitors. Our videos, our words, our images, they tell a story, a well-told story to people to help them form an emotional connection with the destination even before they've been to our community. This summer, through our grant program, York County had the fortune of hosting a great storyteller, today's feature speaker, Mr. Peter Greenberg. In fact, he's one of America's most recognized travel news journalists, the man fittingly known as the travel detective. Peter Greenberg is the travel editor for CBS News. He's an investigative reporter, and we've learned last night, once a reporter, also always a reporter, because there are some folks in our community here tonight, or here today, that are former reporters. He told us once, always. And he's a producer who has won multiple Emmys. He's the host of The Travel Detective, airing on public television, as well as nationally syndicated Peter Greenberg Worldwide radio show. Whether it's touring the country of Jordan with the king himself or discovering secret fishing spots off the coast of Florida, Peter tells stories like ours from around the globe. This summer, he visited York County to help us tell our story. We were fortunate to welcome Peter here to broadcast his radio show this summer, as well as to film an upcoming episode of The Travel Detective, which you'll see later. Now he's back in York County to discuss today's travel trends, but also to tell us how we can better reach storytellers like him. So as you listen to Peter this morning, think about your own compelling story and how the York County CVB could help you tell it. Please give a warm York County welcome to Mr. Peter Greenberg.
Well, thank you, Ann. Good morning, New Yorkers. Steve and Julie, thank you very much for dinner last night. It was great. He mentioned the cider and the beer. He did not mention the cream soda, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later. I told you I was going to talk about it. What I want to do this morning is give you a sort of frontline report on what's going on outside of York, what's going on in the world, and how that impacts you, and how you can then get your story out, as I just talked to you about. So let's start with a word that you've all heard. It probably really wasn't in our lexicon 3 or 4 years ago. Now it's in our lexicon every day. Disruption. And all of its many facets. We're now in the middle of a perfect storm. We've seen so much disruption in the last 12 months, whether it's economic, and by the way, this is all outside of York, but it all impacts York. Whether it's economic, we saw Brexit, political, many of the decisions of our current administration, natural disasters, we've seen what was going on in the Caribbean with 2 back-to-back Category 5 storms, and then even in my world of media in the last 3 weeks on morning television, we certainly have had our share of perfect storms at CBS and NBC, which we're still trying to get our arms around. But out of all that comes opportunity. But first, let me give you some statistics and some figures that will give you an idea of the world in which we're really operating. Let's go back to January 27th of this year. A week after President Trump was inaugurated, he issued his first executive order, the so-called Muslim ban. Now, whether you're for it or against it, the optics overseas were staggering. Within 24 hours, online search dropped 17%, online bookings dropped 7%. Business travel evaporated in 1 week, $185 million. And to this day, tour operators overseas who want to come to the United States are reporting on average a 27% drop in their business. This goes back to 9/11. You know, we call it the lost decade, where the United States was being perceived by so many people overseas as unwelcoming, inhospitable, or closed. We lost billions of dollars in revenue and tax base, in jobs. People don't realize. I was talking to Representative Hill this morning. People don't recognize the power of travel and tourism, the economic impact, the engine that is really the driver. It's about 11% of global GDP. That's an average. In some countries, it's as much as 20. It provides 1 in every 10 jobs. It puts food on the table. And there are 93 countries out there that if they didn't have travel and tourism, they'd have to fold up the tent, literally, and go home. And we're on the verge of that right now in many countries of the world, and we're seeing the impact of that right here in the United States. Now here's some good news. 1.3 billion people this year will cross a border. That is amazing. And by the way, we haven't even talked about aspirational travel. How many of them want to come to the United States? Just about everybody. We just have to make it available to them. It's not about affordability, it's about accessibility. And that's one of the themes that you should remember when leaving this morning. It's not about affordability, it's about accessibility, because we're living in a world of experiential one-upsmanship. Everybody wants to have a better experience than you. And you want to have a better experience than Julie. And then we want to brag about it. And once we can have that experience, it's amazing, and it's accessible, it's amazing how affordable it becomes, because we make choices. We might deny ourselves a night out on the town in order to travel somewhere to have an experience that our neighbor either didn't know about or couldn't do. So keep that in mind. But these statistics that I'm giving you, you can't ignore them. Which of course begs the question, if ignorance is bliss, why aren't there more happy people? Well, I can answer that question, but you don't want to know the answer. The answer really is because we have ignored those statistics, and we're living in a little bit of a bubble. But let's start with other things that are happening out there that are impacting you, not directly, but they are significantly impacting you indirectly. And let's start with airlift. In this country, I'm not talking about overseas now, in this country we've gone from 8 airlines competing for 88% of the market share to 4 airlines that own it. And that's significant because I look at those airlines lovingly as bad mafia families. Right? It's sort of like, you do drugs, you do prostitution, you do numbers, I won't come into your neighborhood, you won't come into mine. Where's the competition there? Answer, there isn't. There isn't. And we have to live in that world. And there was a time, not too long ago, that certain airlines like United boasted they flew to every state in America. They're not boasting that now. We're dealing with airports that are terribly underserved. Cincinnati used to have 900 departures a day. They're now down to 170. Memphis is down 40%. In Ontario, California, you can go bowling at that airport on the runway. And of course, one of your best airports, which is still underutilized, is an hour and a half from here, BWI. How many slots do they have open? Tons. And yet, who's flying there within the US? And the answer is, not a lot of people, even though Southwest is the dominant carrier, the problem is nobody else is showing up. But there's good news there, because we're seeing now the growth of ultra long haul, low cost, discount carriers flying international routes that were terribly underserved. It is now cheaper to go from Hartford to London than it is to go from Hartford to Boston. My assistant in Los Angeles flew 2 weeks ago from Los Angeles to Dublin. Somebody want to tell me the airfare? $110. Yeah. And by the way, if you break the airfare down the way it's taxed, the airfare was $28, the taxes was $92. But she did it on an airline called WOW. Has anybody heard of WOW? Has anybody flown it? Well, they're coming. They're based in Iceland, by the way. And if you don't want to take WOW to Dublin, guess who else flies it? From Los Angeles, by the way. You'll never guess this. Ethiopian. What we're seeing is the growth of something that you can benefit from, what we call fifth freedom rights. The ability and the freedom for an airline not based in either of those two cities to fly between them. Recently, I had to go from Sao Paulo to Buenos Aires. What airline did I fly? Turkish. What are they doing there? Well, they fly from Istanbul to Sao Paulo and then continue down. They're allowed to take that traffic on a brand new 777 for $89. So there are opportunities here if you understand where people are coming from and how they're getting there. Have you heard of Norwegian Air Show? Has anybody flown it? Well, get out there. I needed to go from New York to Bergen, Norway. Now, if you go online, and we're going to talk about that in a second, if you go online, you'll see all the airlines that fly there if you don't mind going through their hub, London, Paris, Copenhagen, Stockholm. The cheapest airfare was $1,200 in coach, New York to Bergen. So then I said, you know what, I'm going to go on, check out Norwegian. I went on their website. They have a nonstop from New York to Bergen on a brand new Boeing 787 Dreamliner for $207. Business class is $400. I sent everybody business class. Why not? So you have opportunities there coming from unlikely sources. There's a new airline now called Air Asia, new to us, not new to Asia. They're flying right now. Get out the map, you'll see how crazy this is. From Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia to Honolulu for $149. Right? You can't get up in the morning in Honolulu for $149. So, opportunities there. But you need to understand there are people there who now can fly. Now, are they flying? No, because they're afraid. Because of the current political situation, the optics. So, as people, just as travelers here, you're in the enviable position of being able to fly with a lot of empty seats wherever you want to go in the world right now. The seasonality has left travel. The airfare sales have been all year long. All year long. Now, let's talk about something else about airlift. By the time somebody actually does fly here on a US carrier, they've been so abused. You know I'm right. They've been so abused that if you're just nice to them, they'll marry you. I mean, if the US airlines were telling, anybody here representing a US airline? Okay, we can talk. If the US airlines were honest in their branding message, it would be the following. We're not happy until you're not happy. I'll wait. That was good, come on. And yet, it's become a commodity. You need to fight against that. You need to fight against your product being a commodity. And that's getting back to what Ann was talking about storytelling. You need to think about immersive, participatory travel. And I'm one of those guys who loves to just, burn the brochures. I hate brochures. I really do. And you all have them, don't you? Yes, Anne's shaking her head. Yes, you do. Because with Photoshop, I can make a love canal look pretty. Would you like to see the brochure for the love canal? And words that end in ST. I hate those two. Best, greatest, most, loveliest, finest. Throw in paradise, pamper, luxury, and I'm throwing up. You too? Okay. How many of you depend or think it's a valuable tool, TripAdvisor? Come on, raise your hands. I know who you are. Okay. Let me tell you a story. We just reported on it on CBS. Did you see the story about the rapes and what TripAdvisor didn't do? Anybody see that story? Anybody? Okay, good. Thank you. So you're watching CBS. Thank you. For those of you who didn't, by the way, that's going to be my next item up for bids here on The Price is Right. You need to. How many of you here read a daily newspaper? Not USA Today. The New York Times. You want to play in the big leagues? Find out what the big leagues are talking about. Because they're determining the decisions that are being made by those airlines and by those tour operators and by everybody else. I have a rule of my own staff. You know, my own staff is all under the age of 35, and if they were sitting here right now, they'd be texting me. This is not good. I have a rule. When I was growing up in New York, there were 7 daily newspapers in New York City. I can still name them. If you want me to, I will. But the point is, my parents subscribed to all of them. And there was a rule in my family that you couldn't come to the dinner table unless you'd read all the newspapers and you had something to add to the dinner time conversation. A word we've lost in this country about storytelling. That's important. But the thing about TripAdvisor, to circle back, is that a woman was vacationing in Mexico by herself at a big resort, went for a walk, and was attacked and raped by an employee of the hotel. And she immediately reported on this to TripAdvisor, which would not post her story because it wasn't in keeping with their advertiser-friendly approach. The second woman, not knowing the first woman, came down to Mexico. You know the story. She got raped. She posted it, they took it off. Well, the next thing they did was they called us. We posted it. And TripAdvisor was like shocked, and we can't imagine why we didn't do that. I can imagine why. Because TripAdvisor, which started as a good idea of an intelligent community of like-minded travelers sharing information, has become nothing more than a booking agent. But I'll tell you another story that happened to me. 2 stories, actually. One we did on The Travel Detective in last season's episode, and this year we did it another one because it was 2 different stories but the same point. Last year, I went out and I wrote 20 completely bogus reviews of 20 places I'd never been, using all those words that end in EST and pamper, luxury, pamper, right? They published every one of them. No vetting. But here it gets worse. Last year, we were shooting a piece in Asbury Park, New Jersey, and we checked into a hotel. By the way, I name names. It was called the Berkeley. On the outside, it was a beautiful piece of architecture. On the inside, it was a scene from The Shining. Only thing missing was Jack Nicholson. There were bloodstains on the wall. All the stuffing was coming out of the chairs. The mirrors were cracked. The doors were off their frames. When I opened the door, the handle fell off in my hand. Not a good sign. And I called my camera crew and I said, get up here. Then the bellman brought up my bags. Nice guy. Couldn't have been nicer. And when he left, he said, oh, here's my card. My name is Eugene. Here's my card. If you need anything, let me know. He walks out. I look at the card. And there on the card is the TripAdvisor logo with a statement saying, write a great review of the hotel and get a discount. So TripAdvisor was incentivizing me to what? Lie. So we live in a world right now where nothing's getting vetted. Just be aware of that. You want storytelling? Everybody's got a cell phone. Good, bad, or ugly. And the thing is, you need to get ahead of that story and tell your story. Now, I'm going to ask you to stand up. You didn't know I was going to do this, did you? Okay. Now here's what I want you to do. I want you to look around the room. Take your time. No, take your time. Start over there, and then pan all the way around the room. Keep going. By the way, there will be no points deducted from her final score. Go ahead. You got it? Got it. Okay, now, just only look at me. What did you just see?
A crowd
correct.
Of friendly tourism partners.
Wow, look at that. She's already labeled you. Okay, all those I suppose are correct answers. Thank you. Now I'm going to tell you what I see. I see more than 150 fascinating stories waiting to be told.
You're right.
I know I'm right. But wait, it doesn't mean you're all fascinating storytellers, but you each have a fascinating story. And who is telling that story? Everybody has one. But it's the way you tell the story, which goes back to why I hate brochures. Okay? You all have heroes here. I'm going to tell you a story about a hero. Any lawyers here? No lawyers? Great. Okay. Because anytime you see a problem in the travel industry with storytelling, you know the lawyers got there first. How many of you watched the video of the dentist being hauled off the United Airlines plane? How many saw it more than once? How many are continuing to watch it? For those of you who don't know the story, you should. A flight in Chicago was overbooked at the last minute. Everybody was boarded, and they decided they were going to offer an auction for somebody to volunteer their seat. When they got up to $850, nobody took the idea because it was a busy weekend. Instead of upping the ante, which they could have done, they just went up the aisle and hauled this poor dentist off the plane. He didn't want to go. He was dragged off by the police, who were later fired, by the way. And they beat him up, broke his jaw. You saw the whole story. Well, talk about viral. But here's the story that's interesting about it. How long did it take United Airlines to talk about it? 3 days. How fast was that story on the internet? 3 minutes. And when United Airlines finally got on the air and issued their apology, and by the way, there was a similar incident with American and a similar incident with Delta, different locations, different stories, but the same issues. Look, the apologies are almost all similar, AKA lawyers in the room. And this is the apology. We're shocked and saddened by this. It doesn't reflect our core culture and values, and we're going to retrain our staff. No, guys, retrain your management. Because it was your management that made the rules, that told that poor gate agent they couldn't go over $850, and how much did that cost them? Back up the truck. So the point is, you need to get ahead of the bad stories, but you also need to really let people know the good stories. And now I'm going to tell you a good story. This went back to the days of Northwest Airlines before they merged with Delta. It was the last flight of the day from Minneapolis to Chicago. And as the passengers were boarding the plane, it was a DC-9, the pilot happened to be at the end of the jetway, so he's standing next to the entrance door. And a man walks up to him with his 11-year-old son and says, listen, I'm having a problem, I need your help. He said, what? He said, well, I need to take my son to the Mayo Clinic. He's very sick. But the only way Northwest Airlines will fly me there is to fly me on the last flight of the day tonight from Minneapolis to Chicago, and then I have to overnight in Chicago, and they have to fly me back to Rochester tomorrow morning. I was looking at your in-flight magazine at the map. I noticed you fly right over Rochester on the way. Do you think you could stop? Now you're all laughing. The pilot knew it was the last flight of the day. It didn't connect with any other flight. Did he call his company and ask permission? No. He called air traffic control and said, hey, I got a situation here. Can you guys help me out? Can you vector me into Rochester and then get me to Chicago? And they all said, yeah, let's do it. So then he goes on the PA and says to the passengers, ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard. We have a very special guest on board tonight. He needs to get to Rochester, Minnesota. The air traffic control guys told me I could get in and get out real fast. You guys in? If you guys say yes, we'll do it. Everybody says, yeah, let's do it. Well, this will give you an indication of what you can do when you want to do it. They take off. They land in Rochester. The ambulance is there. They take the kid off. They close the door. They take off. They land in Chicago 12 minutes early. Amazing what you can do when you don't ask permission. So how did I find out about the story? Passengers called me. So you need to know about this guy. What a great pilot. So I checked it out. Sure enough, the story was true. I do the story. The FAA reads the story. No. The FAA names him Pilot of the Year. And Northwest Airlines will not allow him to accept the award because they're worried about setting precedent. He should be in every one of their ads. So you need to go outside the box to find your heroes and then tell their stories. If They can't tell them themselves, get somebody to tell the story anyway. Right? You're all enablers. The hoteliers here, raise your hands, I saw you earlier. The hoteliers here were trained in one way, and I think you won't disagree with this. You were trained to tell me all the great things I can do at the hotel because I'm at the hotel. Throw that out. What you need to do is to tell me all the great things I can do within a 100-mile radius of the hotel that you enable me to do because I'm at the hotel. So it's not about at the hotel, it's through the hotel. That's what's going to make me come back, because I established a relationship with you. I'll give you another story that happened to me. About 12 years ago, I was taking 25 of my friends, writers, producers, and directors, since I used to work at Paramount Pictures. You may remember a show I developed called MacGyver, but we won't get into that now. And I was taking them down to Buenos Aires. We were staying at the Hyatt. Now, every flight that lands in Buenos Aires lands at like 7 in the morning. So the hotel said, oh, we'll send limos out for you. I said, why? The rooms won't be ready. You know that. I said, I got a better idea. No limos. Go to your bellman, your maids, your housekeepers, your front door guys, anybody with a car, have them drive their own cars out to the airport. We'll pay for it. And instead of taking us to the hotel, take us to the neighborhoods in which they live for breakfast we're buying. They thought I was from another galaxy. But they did it. You know what time we checked into the hotel? 8 o'clock that night. Because everybody was having such a great time. And what was going on? Storytelling, relationship building. And you know what happened 6 months later? They held a party in Los Angeles. And they flew the maids, the bellhops, the doormen to California. That's what you guys need to do. Look who your heroes are. Who are your ambassadors? How do you get your story out? And branding is not going to save you. You need to develop your people and your properties and your experiences as emotional assets. Things that people want to come back to because they had a chance to have what? A conversation. As I'm standing here right now, Marriott, which of course bought Starwood last year, it's huge. Do you know that they're opening one new hotel in the world every 14 hours? Now, pretty impressive, right? Does that make me want to stay at a Marriott? Why? Why do you think Airbnb has gotten so popular? 2 reasons. One is an infrastructure reason. They were able to flourish in places that didn't have enough rooms. But most importantly, people are looking for what? An immersive, genuine, authentic experience. Like my guys who drove into Buenos Aires into the neighborhoods. Now, branding's not going to save you. I'm going to tell you another word that's not going to save you, and I have fun with this word. Are you ready? Millennials. That's right. How many people here, I know you're not going to raise your hand now. How many people here are obsessed with marketing to millennials? See, I told you you're not going to. Good answer. You are? Okay. Let me give you some figures that might change your attitude. What do you think the average household income is of a boomer? It's $220,000 a year. What's the average household income of a millennial? It's $22,000 a year. They're sitting at home with a Budweiser hoping that a Heineken shows up. And let me tell you something. A Heineken ain't showing. So what I'm trying to tell you is, I'm not telling you not to market to millennials in an aspirational way, but they don't have the money. And they're not spending the money and they're not making the decisions. They will, but not right now. One of the reasons why people, like you, are so into it is because we've been led down the path by advertising agencies where the average age of a media buyer is 25 years old who thinks the sun rises and sets on millennials. It doesn't. And sooner or later, someone's going to figure that out. The other reason is this. Everything doesn't have to be digital. I'm a legacy technology guy. I still have rotary phones. I do. Do you know why I still have rotary phones? Because if the power goes out, they still work. Have you seen a rotary phone? Okay, I'm just double checking because not to embarrass you at all. I'm still on AOL. That's scary. But the point, because I can understand. But the point is, You can't let demographics take precedence over common sense to get your story out. You just can't do it. Now, think of what your assets are right here in York. As Ann mentioned, I was here last year, but you're not utilizing them properly. One of the things she didn't mention to you is what I do every time I come to a new city, town, or destination. Where's the first place I go that's going to have all the information I need in the most credible, unbiased way? Anybody want to guess? Go ahead, yell it out. Bar. All right. No. The firehouse. They've been in everybody's house, they've been in everybody's hotel, they've been in everybody's restaurant, they know where to go, they know where not to go, and they can't wait to tell you about it. Now, I'm a little biased because, well, since I'm 18, I'm a fireman in New York. I'm on duty 3 days a week, 7 months a year. But that's how I learned that. You're not utilizing your own assets here. And what a beautiful firehouse you have, right? So that's one, but that's only one. There are so many others. And it's about immersive participatory travel. You have a baseball stadium, yes? Right. You have a team that plays there. But can I play there? Can I bring my friends and play there? Yeah, but I don't know that yet. I need to know that. That's a better experience. I get to play it. It's Field of Dreams time, guys. Right? You have a company that's been making animal crackers here since 1871. Am I right? Okay. Can I go make my own animal crackers there? You boast that you're the factory tour capital of the world, but you're not involving me. I got a tour of your back room here with the brewery, right? And they talked about the cider. They talked about browns and apples. Can I go pick my own apples and then make my cider with you? Thank you. And will you label it with my name on it? Okay. The Harley-Davidson plant in Milwaukee allows you to be part of the assembly line and actually help build the cycle. Why can't you do that here? You know why? The lawyers. So re-educate the lawyers. Figure it out. Now, I can't make my own cider if there's alcohol if I'm under the age of 21, but who cares? Parents can do it. Operate a daycare center while the parents are making their own cider. They will. Right? And then operate the designated driver program and you're in. Okay, but the point is, think of all the tours that you're doing. I came here and I made soap. Right? Then I went to the market and I loaded up on honey. But you know where I'm going because we talked about it this morning. I want to come to your farm and make ice cream. I want to milk the cows. Right? You ask kids where food comes from today, they tell you the store. We got a problem. If you can understand the process, are you going to value the product? You bet you are. And you're going to tell your friends, because look what I did. I do a piece on CBS every year called Make It on Vacation. Nothing sexual about that at all. I can go to Maine and build my own boat. I can go to Vermont and build my own teddy bear. I can go to Louisiana and make my own potato chips. I can go to Louisville and make my own baseball bat. What can I do in York? I don't want to go watch somebody do it. I want somebody to tell me how to do it and show me how to do it, and then I get it. And then, of course, figure out shipping. Because, you build your own boat in Maine, and now what do? But the point is, they figured that out too. And now, is that a better experience? It's an option. Because the true definition of luxury travel is when you get to keep your options and you get to use them. That's why we hate air travel, because we have no more options, right? We have to deal with the TSA. By the way, that stands for thousands standing around. It also stands for taking scissors away. You pick the one you like, go with it. The point is, those are some of the problems we have to deal with that are inevitable obstacles. But what are your obstacles? You already have a great product. You just have to platform it differently. And that's how you get to tell your stories, right? How many guys in the fire department here would take any visitor around on the truck if they just asked? Who's asking? Right? Who's asking? Ride-alongs are unbelievable. You get to see the city a different way. Right? And those are kinds of things that you have to do. But the problem that we have, not necessarily in York, but in the travel industry itself, is that everybody's entitled to be stupid, just some people abuse the privilege. And Now, why are you laughing? Okay, good. But I hope I'm making the point. You already have the tools here. It's about redefining them. And then all of a sudden, stories come out of that. Right? Look at Hershey. You get to watch other people make chocolate. Who cares? Who cares? I see a lot of kisses on the assembly line. Right? But if I could go make my own chocolate, now I've learned something, I've shared something, and somebody along the way, guaranteed, has told me a story that I can then share with somebody else. And when you do that, guess what happens? You think outside the box, you're not trapped by the box, and you get your story out. And you can't depend, with all due respect to Ann and the CVB, you can't depend on the CVB to tell your story. Because their job, and they do a great job of it, is to promote. That's not your job. Your job is to present. There is a big difference. And every one of you, thanks to you looking around the room, has that story to tell. And you should be telling it. Because the other thing we talked about, the natural disasters, the 2 back-to-back Category 5 hurricanes, have resulted, beware of the law of unintended consequences, with Americans, our fellow citizens, being forced, that's right, forced, because we're so geographically ignorant as a people. You know, Americans really are geographically ignorant. It's like the couple that goes back from their vacation. Where'd you go on your vacation? Aruba. Where's that? I don't know, we flew. Right. But it's forced Americans now to rediscover their own country. Gas prices haven't spiked. People are driving longer distances. They have more efficient cars. And so much of your visitors are driving. So you have an opportunity here that you didn't have 8 months ago, because people would have been spending the holidays in the Caribbean. Now they're not. Again, seasonality leaving the picture now. You have to be a 12-month destination now. You do. And that's an opportunity that you shouldn't miss. But you don't get that opportunity without storytelling. It's as simple as that. Now, I told you I'm on AOL, so I'm going to give you my email if you want to tell me your stories. And I do respond to emails. It's one word, mastertrav@AOL. As long as AOL's in business, I guess I'll still be on it. But think of it, I don't really want to know who your new F&B manager is. I don't. You're laughing because you know, right? I don't need to know about festivals or events, because that doesn't do it. For me, it's, hey, where can I go on a bicycle that I couldn't do otherwise? You know, what can I do here that I can't do anywhere else? Or what can I do here that I can't do anywhere else better as an experience? And look at the history that you have here, right? You can walk it. You can walk it, or you can bike it. It's all accessible. And as I said before, once it's accessible, it becomes affordable. And then, don't just depend on the CVB. Look at private-public partnerships to make that happen, to tell those stories. You know, it's great that you were able to increase the tax to be able to fund those programs, but go beyond that. Go beyond that, because those stories will sell, and they will resonate, and people will come back. They may not know, by the way, speaking of geographic ignorance, they may still not know where York is when it's all done. I just want to warn you of that. But they know they would have been here, and they can tell their friends. Now, speaking of telling and storytelling, I have to leave in about 3 minutes to go do a live radio show for 6 minutes. I do it every Thursday, wherever I am in the world. I call in and they ask me, where are you? And then I tell them. So we'll be live from New York in about 7 minutes. Oh, really? Would you like me? It's radio, so I can't hold a cider, I'm sorry. Always marketing, right. No, I'll just say I got lost and I'm in the middle of a wedding. How about that? Would that work for you? Okay. But I will come back, right, Ann? I'm going to come back and answer any questions you may have. And please get your questions ready. I'll be glad to answer any of them. And I hope you'll watch me on CBS this morning and listen to the radio show, which you can always do online if you can't get a local station. And, of course, on PBS. I do 2 shows on PBS I will tell you about. One Ann mentioned, which is The Travel Detective. We're now going into season 5. Think of it as the 60 Minutes in Dateline of travel. But we all do, every episode we have a segment called Hidden Gems. That's what we did here in New York. And then I do another one, which I hope you'll get a chance to see. We've been doing it for 16 years now. It's called the Royal Tour, where I go to individual heads of state, kings, presidents, or prime ministers, and as wild as this sounds, I actually get them to give me 6 days of their schedule completely free. We send their Ministry of Tourism home. They can't come near me because we're not doing a postcard. And then I show up with a crew of 40. 8 helicopters, dive teams, motorcycle teams, mountain rappelling teams, I mean, horse, camel, you name it, we have it. And then for the next 6 days, that king, president, or prime minister is my personal tour guide to the country for a 1-hour special. They have no right of editorial review. They have no editorial control. The first time they see it's when it's on the air. And we've done everybody from the King of Jordan to Netanyahu in Israel. We've done the prime ministers of New Zealand and Jamaica. We've done the presidents of Peru, Mexico, Ecuador. We just finished the president of Rwanda. Talk about an amazing country. And this year coming up, we'll be doing 3 more, most likely Greece, Australia, and Canada. But remember, it's great storytelling because in the process of doing that, it humanizes the country, it also humanizes the leader. And believe me when I tell you, the people around them are in shock because they have no editorial review and they have no editorial control, because if we did, it would be death by committee, it would be a brochure, and then I'd have to burn it. Excuse me as I go take the radio show. Andy, you want to come back up? You're coming back up, sir.
I thought Andy was coming back up.
Well, while you guys work that out, I'm going to go do the radio show, and then I'll come back. Thank you very much.
I think so. How are we doing this time? Oh, there we go. I know why Ann didn't want to come up, because I'm not sure anyone would want to follow that. That was an excellent piece of work. I'm going to thank you when he comes back. Let's see here. Partnerships are vital for tourism, and our next speaker is proven one of our strongest allies. As Deputy Secretary of the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development, Carrie Fisher-Lepore oversees efforts to attract overnight visitors to the Keystone State. That work often centers around leisure visitors, but the state invested in another market that plays a key role in York County's tourism industry, and we're talking about sports. York CVB sport program attracted events that brought an estimated $25 million in economic benefit in 2017, and that's incredible considering the size of York. The CVB also works with PA Sports, a collaborative effort to draw professional, collegiate, interscholastic, and amateur youth sports events to Pennsylvania. Carrie and the state invested in a PA sport with a grant that will grow this lucrative segment of the tourism industry. The grant has supported a comprehensive economic impact study that shows the power of sports tourism, sales missions that have generated key leads, and the development of sport in PA website. We thank Carrie for her support. Please join me in welcoming her to York County today for an update on her team's level at the state level.
Good morning, everyone. How are you? I am going to speak very quickly because I was so intimidated to follow Peter Greenberg, so we have about 6 minutes, I think, for me to get my remarks in before he returns. I'm Carrie Fisher-Lepore, Deputy Secretary of Marketing and Tourism and Film for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. It's so nice to be here and to visit with many of you. This past spring, I had the very great honor of addressing the York Rotary. I believe some of you were there. It was such a thrill, so I am just thrilled and honored to be back. As you may recall, Pennsylvania unveiled a new tourism campaign last March with a new logo and tagline that issued a bold declaration to travelers far and wide, inviting them to pursue their happiness in Pennsylvania. Whether it's hitting the slopes at Ski Round Top, standing in our founding fathers' footsteps besides the Liberty Bell, or having a reflective moment at Gifford Pinchot, Pennsylvania has the nation's best collection of greater than great outdoors, urban and historical experiences that no other state can rival, and we've spent the past 2 years touting our strengths and telling our rich and diverse story. feel like that's a buzzword today, story and storytelling. So again, I'm here to share with you the success that our new marketing efforts have had in attracting visitors from far and near to the state, injecting direct dollars into our communities, and generating notable tax revenue for the Commonwealth. So this multifaceted approach to marketing and to tell our experiences, combining media relations, social media, and event promotion, and for the first time in years, a robust digital advertising campaign. For the sake of brevity, I'll give a high-level overview of our accomplishments. I can barely make dinner reservations in 5 minutes, so again, I'm going to try to keep this very high level. Since its launch, the Pursue Your Happiness brand has been supported with custom video content showcasing what it means to be a happy traveler and how every visitor to our great state can build his or her unique adventure. 2017 marked the second year of our completely revamped and newly designed annual travel guide, The Happy Traveler. In addition to 175,000 printed copies we distributed last year, 1.2 million guides were digitally downloaded by travelers throughout the US and the world. And I am so thrilled to be able to announce that the 2018 Happy Traveler Guide is being printed and boxed as we speak. And for the first time, I think maybe ever, Anne, I'm looking to you, we're actually going to be distributing the guide, hitting shelves in January. Very excited about that. That's something that we definitely heard from the industry, and we're so thrilled to be able to deliver. We also reimagined and revamped Happy Thoughts, our consumer e-newsletter that goes out to over 175,000 subscribers each month, and that number keeps growing. The newsletter features far more lifestyle content, tips, and upcoming events than ever before. During the fall, we also included our fall foliage reports, and again, I'm so excited for the first time ever, thrilled to announce that we're going to be featuring snow reports starting this month in December. We then had all of this great content that we were creating, but there was really no good place to house it on visitpa.com. So we thought this was the time for us to create and launch a blog for Pennsylvania. I encourage all of you to go to pahappythoughts.com to check it out. It's something that's new for us, it's growing, but this is where we're going to be housing all of that great content that we're creating for our monthly e-newsletter, and we're also looking to our partners, both our sister agencies and partners within the industry, to help us keep that content fresh and robust throughout the month. We also brought visitpa.com, Pennsylvania's official tourism website, back in-house in 2016, and then added a bold and fresh new look for the site in 2017. And this is our online destination for all things travel in Pennsylvania. Coupled with all of this was the launch of a robust online ad campaign, launched in 2016, repeated in 2017. This was the first online campaign that we had in about 4 or 5 years when we launched it in 2016, and we decided that it needed to be highly targeted to potential visitors throughout Pennsylvania, but also New York, New Jersey, Washington, D.C., Baltimore, and Ohio. Touch wood, we've had a lot of success with our spring-summer campaign, again in 16-17. For the first time in probably 6-7 years, we had a fall campaign this past year, just concluded a few weeks ago, which featured online video, display ads, SEM, and a few other fun little components. And again, for the first time in probably a decade, we're thrilled to have a very modest advertising investment to promote winter in Pennsylvania. This is going to be launching in January and run for about 8 weeks in January and February. This is going to be very, very targeted, again, to the DC, Baltimore metro area. We're going to have some advertising in Ohio, Cleveland, and Columbus, as well as a little bit of upstate New York. We're going to be promoting Pennsylvania as a fantastic ski destination that I know we all are. In addition to having a robust online presence, we're also partnering with the metro stations in Washington, D.C., and again, trying to promote some of our skiing opportunities, because again, through research, we know that this is a highly lucrative audience for us, and that the friends to our south definitely come up north for skiing during the winter months. Social media, moving on, I'm just checking off all of our channels. So social media is one of our key communication strategies, and we adopted a fresh brand voice on our 9 social media channels, where we gained almost 40,000 new followers last year. We love our social media followers because We know that if they like what they're hear, they'll tell their friends and relatives, who will in turn tell their friends and relatives, et cetera, greatly expanding the reach of our social media and marketing efforts to a dedicated base of travelers. We launched 2 new initiatives in 2017 that we were really excited about. One of them was the opportunity for our partners to take over our Instagram site for a day or 2. This is definitely a win-win for us because we receive great exposure to their followers and they get to do the same with ours. We also launched our PA Happy Chat series, which is a series of monthly Facebook Live interviews where we will actually go to a specific site. This past, just a few weeks ago, we were at Briar's Choice in the Lehigh Valley area. Briar's Choice is the company that makes the little Christmas carolers. I don't know if anyone's familiar with them, but they have like a cult following. I mean, we had people logging on from all over the world to be able to ask questions, so it's really exciting. We did a little poll online to see where our followers wanted to see another Happy Chat for the holiday season, and Chris Crindle Market in the Lehigh Valley also won that. So I do encourage you to make sure that you follow along on all of our social media sites, and we're always open to new ideas. Ann and her team does a fantastic job of making sure that we, the state, are up to date on all of the great events happening right here. Something else really exciting that I'm thrilled to tell you about, for the first time in several years, we're actually reestablishing our presence in the overseas market, leading a tourism trade mission to the UK in 2016 and to Germany in 2017. This is really significant for us because the state went radio silent in all international, pretty much all marketing, but specifically really impacting the international markets. Unfortunately, due to budget constraints, we still aren't able to have that same presence that we had previously, but we are so thrilled and excited, and we are receiving a fantastic welcome from the international markets, welcoming us back to be able to cover and highlight all of the good stuff happening in Pennsylvania. And then finally, something that's most recent, and it sounds silly, but it's something that I'm actually most excited about. We started to roll out our new Welcome to Pennsylvania signs. Has anyone seen them when you're re-entering? Yay! Okay. This was a great, great accomplishment for us. There is nothing like having Pursue Your Happiness really, deemed accepted when you see it on this gigantic sign. We've replaced 36 signs. It was something that the life of these signs have about 18 years, which is thrilling. It was time for them to be replaced. Some of them were literally falling down. We decided to seize the moment and to work with our sister agency at PennDOT to make sure that they were reflective of the new happiness that is greeting all of our visitors to Pennsylvania. We were in, my family and I were in Frederick, Maryland this past weekend for visiting my sister-in-law. We were traveling Route 15, and I thought my husband was going to kill me because I screamed, "Pull over!" And then he thought I was even crazier when I instructed my 6- and 9-year-old to get out of the car so Mommy could get a picture in front of the sign. But I'm very excited. They are beautiful and such a fantastic giant blue smile welcoming visitors. So those of you who have seen it, I hope that you really share my excitement. And we just got word that we're also going to be installing those signs, much smaller, but installing those signs at all of our welcome centers across the state as well. So again, that happiness is really just sweeping the entire state. That is really it for my remarks, because again, Anne, I was trying to be respectful of the 5 minutes, and that's normally hard for me, but I do definitely welcome the opportunity to visit with all of you again. I'm here sitting in the back, so at the end of this wonderful event, I do welcome any type of questions, comments, feedback. Anne knows where to find me, Louise knows where to find me, Laura knows where to find me, everyone here knows how to find me. So I love hearing from the people on the front line, our boots on the ground. If you have any ideas or suggestions, please let me know. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much, Carrie, for giving us an update on the state cooperation we get. Next, I'd like to introduce Dr. John Hughes from York College. He's a fellow board member, and he's going to tell us a little bit about the activities with York College, and he's actually a sponsor this morning also, so we're going to welcome him.
Good morning, colleagues. It's very nice to be with you this morning. Thank you
behalf of York College and the Hospitality Management Program, I'd like to say it's a real honor to be of service. Before I get into my remarks, though, I would like to say thank you to you, Julie and Steve, for this warm Wyndridge hospitality here today. How about we recognize that pretty aggressively? We're very proud to be a sponsor of this event, and we intend to continue doing so. There is no hospitality without tourism, as we all know. It's a very important thing for us to support. Well, the thoughts that Peter shared with us and insights were very profound. There are very strong messages there for us to consider. Looking forward to seeing the video. To Anne and team, much respect is due to you, very much respect. For your many significant accomplishments on behalf of this county this year and all years, really. From day one at the college, which by the way is a really great story we're going to tell a little bit about here today, and quickly, but it's really a York County story and an amazing natural resource, hospitality resource for us all to share here in this room. From day one, we worked to help our students, and Anne is in the classroom from day one with us and her team, Christine, because we feel that it's very important that our students understand that without tourism and supporting the organizations that support tourism on a state and local level, there is no hospitality. There are no jobs. Society is hurt, and the hospitality business is kaput. Right? So part of being an educated person in hospitality involves understanding that we're connected to a bigger picture. So we start from day one when our students are freshmen, right out of high school, trying to get this message across. That it's not about running a business. It's not about serving food or providing accommodation. It's about being a part of the community and supporting the community, investing in the community, and so forth. So from day one, we do that. Anne has been in our classroom. John Longstreet with the Pennsylvania Lodging and Restaurant Association has been in our classroom. We support our associations. Our students learn that supporting associations, taking memberships and investing in our associations and being active in them is a part of success in life, being involved in the community. We have an amazing state destination marketing organization. It's doing miraculous work, and it needs a lot of resources, right? The amount of impact that tourism has on this state, we get a very small share of what we deserve. And I would urge our government officials to continue to support all of these efforts. I'm joined here today by some really, really cool people, and I'm very, very proud of them. It is the product of our efforts over a 4-year period of time, and they are the ladies, and in this case, no gentlemen, of the graduates, some of them, the top graduates of our December class. And I'd like to introduce them and ask them to stand. And by the way, if it would be really great if you had a chance to meet them. They're looking for jobs. We don't want them to escape York. We'd love them to stay here in York. They're wonderful hospitality professionals. Hospitality and tourism business professionals, okay? Dana, would you please stand and be recognized? Shannon Kunkel. Kirsty Lynn. And Emily Mitnick. These are 4 outstanding students. They all have GPAs over 3.5. They all have, during the course of their education, worked 800+ hours in the hospitality industry to help mom and dad and loved ones along, but also to gain relevant experience working for many people here in this room. And by the way, we're very thankful for that support. How about a round of applause for these graduates? Also delighted to be joined by my faculty members here, and Shelley Lamont, would you please stand? Professor Shelley Lamont. Dr. Joe Scarcelli, please stand. stand, and Dr. Fred Becker. Please stand. Thank you for your time this morning, and it's really great to be here with you. And thank you for supporting a York college, a great York story. Back to you, Mark.
Thank you, Dr. Hughes. I recently had an opportunity to participate in a powerful seminar on servant leadership. Whenever you're inspired to look at things differently, it can be powerful. And it led me to think about prosperity and value. And value is why, Tracy, next slide, please. I'm sharing this quote with you this morning from Einstein. Try not to be a person of success, but rather try to be a person of value. And I believe in my heart, and I know that all of you believe, that our industry, York County's tourism industry, is of significant value to our community. So let's get on with it. Let's celebrate some huge wins that we've earned hard together. And let's just review some success strategies that we have for the future to ensure that value continues to drive good things in our community. So huge win number one, you've heard it mentioned, our York County Tourism Grant Program. That's how Peter Greenberg was introduced to our community. And luckily he came back. So another grant, $1 million spread throughout our community in just 2 grant rounds. One of those recipients was Redline High School. They hosted our state student council conference. And this quote will explain to you how valuable that grant program is in our community. We really appreciate the help that the CVB gave us. They helped with hotels, were so supportive with gift baskets. We would not have been able to have a successful conference without the grant. Just yesterday, we received this handwritten note from the Redline Student Council to the York CVB. Thank you so much for your donation to the state conference at Redline. Without your help, we never would have been able to host this amazing event. Thanks to you, we're able to create an encouraging atmosphere for over 1,000 people. We are beyond grateful for your generous donation and commitment to the future leaders of the world. How about that, huh? Is that powerful? So, huge win number 2. We recently bid, well, we always bid against fierce competition. In this case, it's a little more sweeter because it was our neighbors. Lancaster County, Harrisburg, Hershey, boom, and Chester County. Yay! Yay us! So as you know, several of you were at our big announcement, stiff competition. We are fortunate that Special Olympics of Pennsylvania chose York County as the host of their winter indoor games. And it is because of collaboration partners that we're able to deliver this value to our community. $90,000 bid fee from the York County Convention and Visitors Bureau, partnership with the York Expo Center, 2 bowling alleys, the York City Ice Arena. That put us over the edge to bring this economic impact and value to our community. Next huge win. This year, we welcomed 63 new members to the York County Convention and Visitors Bureau. John Bailey was the new chair of our committee, and we really appreciate his leadership. Our new members, I know there's several of you here. Would you please stand up so that we can welcome you into the family? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you to all of you, our longtime members and the ones that stood that will soon be our longtime members. You make us stronger, and if we're stronger, we're able to deliver more value to our community. So our strategies for success to continue delivering this value to our community. Success strategy number 1. As you know, many sports organizations recognize the value of hosting their events in our community. Well, so do associations. This year in March, we will host the annual marketplace for 2 statewide associations, the Pennsylvania Bus Association and the Maryland Bus Association. Success strategy number 2. In June, we'll host our own homegrown event. Factory tours have been mentioned. Made in America tours will celebrate their 20th anniversary. We have many historic attractions that are participating, as a lot of our snack food tours. You know, we made folks so thirsty with our salty snack foods that what did they need? They need cider to wash it down and beer and wine. So you know we're in the liquid tours and trails business. Well, this year we are going to be combining our, as you know, Mason-Dixon Wine Trail, our Susquehanna Ale Trail, and our brand new Keystone Craft Spirits Trail. Tina, how many new members came on, our distillers? 12 new members are distillers. We got a lot of salty snacks to wash down, but what we're doing is we're going to envelope those all, probably in a brochure, like Peter said, but a new brand for all of our liquid trails. We're combining our social media into good libations. So these will be our new trails for you. Success story, our final strategy is focused on you, our membership. And membership engagement is a key indicator of the strength of any organization. Miss Mary Beth has stepped up to the plate. She's swinging for the fences to continue to grow our membership. And you know, here's your call to action. You can help her hit one out of the park by recommending a member to her or any one of us to join the York County Convention and Visitors Bureau and continue to strengthen our value. So every team has a mascot, and we have 2 today that we'd like to introduce to you. That is that Captain Value and Value Woman. And they look so excited to come up here. Yes? Yeah, Captain Value, that's him. So, you know that Mark and Christina will lead our efforts to deliver, it's good, economic value to you in our community. Thank you for your leadership. So as you can see, York County's tourism industry is poised to lead even greater economic value to our community. Thank you very much.
That's an excellent idea. Maybe a beer break or cider, if you choose. Let's see, what's up next? Video presentation. Is Peter going to introduce that, or are we going to do that unilaterally? All right. I'm going to introduce it.
V stands for video.
There we go. We've covered a lot of bases. I guess cue the video.
When you think of states like Pennsylvania, it's the big cities that come to mind. Cities like Philadelphia in the east or Pittsburgh out in the west. But if you're looking for true American charm, you head to the south central part of the state. That's York County, and the history here dates back centuries. I'm Peter Greenberg, and let me show you how I experience York County like a local. York is all about American history. Although there's continuing debate among scholars, some historians believe that York was the first capital of the United States, based upon the fact that the Articles of Confederation were adopted here in 1777 by the Second Continental Congress. That same year in York, Congress also proclaimed the first national day of Thanksgiving. Today you can see remnants of the city's colonial past, right downtown, in the Colonial Complex. The Golden Plow Tavern is here, where you can step inside and get a real feel of what it would have been like to live in the 18th century. But then, head outside. Not many visitors know about it, but the York County Heritage Rail Trail stretches 21 miles from historic downtown York all the way to the Mason-Dixon line. The locals know that the trail is a great place to bike, run, or even ride a horse in the summer, and to cross-country ski or snowshoe in the winter. Along the trail, you'll pass through the Howard Tunnel. It's been in operation since 1838. In fact, it's the second oldest active rail tunnel in America. And Seven Valleys, which might surprise you. It's the birthplace of commercial ice cream production. In the town of New Freedom, you'll find and you can ride a replica Civil War steam engine. About 10 miles down the trail, or about halfway to the end, you'll come to a place called Hanover Junction. And you really should stop, because there's a story to tell. In 1863, Abraham Lincoln spent 2 days here on his way to deliver the Gettysburg Address. And then about a year and a half later, in 1865, his funeral train came here too. The station was completed in 1852. It was then raided during the Civil War by the Confederate Army. And although the telegraph wires were cut and the railroad bridge over the creek was burned, the station remained intact. But there's a lot more to York County than its historical heritage. York likes to bill itself as the factory tour capital of the world, offering 15 different factory tours every day, and even more during their annual Made in America tour. You can see many of your favorite snack foods made right here, like Ravona pretzels, where pretzels are still hand-twisted the same way they've been made since 1935, using Grandpa Greenholtz's original sourdough recipe. Then they're baked in a hearth brick and stone oven and slow-dried in a heated kiln. Or there's Martin's potato chips, the chips that Harry Martin began selling at farmers markets in 1941. Today, you can watch the warm kettle-cooked potato chips fall right off the line. Now here's something you probably wouldn't expect to find. It's one of only 4 Harley-Davidson manufacturing facilities in the United States. And it's right in York County. Mark Bluetz has been making violins, guitars, and mandolins in his small York County factory shop since 1984. Not only can you watch him making an instrument, but if you ask, you might also get him to play a little something for you. Most folks don't think about wine when they think of Pennsylvania. But then there's the Mason-Dixon Wine Trail. It's home to 17 family-owned wineries, like Naylor Wine Cellars, York County's oldest winery, where you can not only do a little wine tasting, but you can also take a behind-the-scenes tour. One of the cool things about York is you use it as a hub. Just 30 miles outside of town, you find yourself on the banks of the Susquehanna River. Get in a kayak, and then you've got 50 miles of water to play with. And on the way, you'll see some ducks, you'll see some geese, and yes, even an occasional bald eagle. While you're out here, head for the Susquehanna Heritage Park High Point. As its name implies, this is where you'll find one of the better views in all of York County. And if you bring your hiking shoes with you, you can even join up with the Mason-Dixon Trail. But the road I like is right in downtown York. It's got one of the more charming main streets in America, and you can see why. It's a little slice of Americana, filled with small mom-and-pop shops and businesses, as well as some restaurants that rival those in much larger cities. There's even a factory tour experience in downtown at the Sunrise Soap Company. One of the cool things is everything is made in small batches with natural ingredients. And it's a great place to bring the kids for a make and take souvenir. Nobody comes to downtown York without coming here, the Central Market. It's been here since 1888. 67 different vendors, from the local farmers you expect to the Korean barbecue you don't expect. But hey, you're in Pennsylvania. You know what that means? Thank you. Pretzels. The market is the heart of the downtown community and the place to be every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday during its regular hours. For a special experience, vendors stay open late the first Friday of every month. Not only is this a great place to pick up fresh produce and baked goods, you can find spices, candy, and all sorts of goodies. And even if you get here early, take your time and make sure you stay long enough to grab some lunch.
Hey there.
So, can I have a hot dog?
Absolutely.
And what does that come with?
That comes with fries.
How about a hamburger? What does that come with?
That comes with fries.
French fries?
Absolutely.
And what does that come with?
It comes with more fries.
But don't let the market fool you. York is still a very small town with fewer than 50,000 people. The streets are lined with Victorian and classic revival buildings. Perhaps the real beauty is, it's not some recreated theme park. It's a true living museum. And that's what makes York so attractive. I'm Peter Greenberg, and thanks for watching.
Peter has excellent timing. You just saw the video. Spectacular work. Thank you very much. Now we're going to invite him back up to answer some questions. Here.
All right, don't be shy. Who's got questions? Oh, right away, okay.
Speaking about where you got the head of the state, report, is Mr. Trump going to do one?
Well, I will tell you this, we couldn't do any US president for a reason, because they travel with such a large entourage that my fellow counterparts in the journalism business would kill me because we don't allow the press to come on the trip. And that it violates the presidential pool, if you will. So no. Former presidents, sure. We just haven't done one in the US yet. Life's too short. Yes.
How do we combat poor reviews from anonymous sources that may or may not be legitimate?
Did everybody hear the question? Yes? Okay. How do we combat poor reviews of his restaurant? No. How do we combat poor reviews from sources that may be anonymous or not verifiable? Very simple. You have to get ahead of the story. That means who on your staff is monitoring social media? Anybody?
Manager.
Okay, but I mean 24/7, they can't sleep, you understand that? The point is, that would be you, okay. But no, if you don't get right ahead of this, I'll give you an example. I was in Atlanta at the airport the other day. Plane was at the gate. And if you know I'm in Atlanta, the plane was at the gate, you know it's Delta. They own Atlanta. And they weren't boarding the flight. The counter agent or the gate agent couldn't tell anybody what was going on. We're clearly going to be late. Nobody knew, literally there's no sharing of information. And people recognized me from the show and came up to me and said, what are you going to do about it? And of course I'm old school, so I just picked up the phone to call corporate headquarters, talk to my guys there at Delta. The people at the gate, the passenger, they started tweeting. Before I could get anybody on the phone, Delta had like 4 redcoats there because they were monitoring social media and they solved the problem right away. So the bottom line is, it's working at such lightning speed that if you don't monitor it 24/7 and respond, in the service industry, it's not the delivery of the service that matters, it's how quickly, sensitively, and intelligently you respond, how you recover, if you will. Here's the other problem. How many people here understand the power or the stupidity of the word blogger? How many people have one? Anybody here have a blog? Okay, so I know your mother reads it. Who else reads it? Who's doing their homework here? Not offense, but who, and I'm sure she's a fan. But who's doing their homework here to vet the people who said they have blogs to find out what their market is, who's reading them, how much of a reach do they have, because in terms of the technology, anybody can have one, and everybody does, right? Morley Safer from 60 Minutes said it best. He said, I trust citizen journalists as much as I trust citizen surgeons. And yet everybody's a citizen journalist. Anytime there's a problem, everybody's got their phone out. So you just need to be aware of that, right? And if somebody's coming to your property claiming to be a journalist, you are within your rights to check them out. And if they have a blog, find out who's reading it other than their mother. Any other questions? Come on, guys. We've got students here. I'm looking right at them. Yes?
So one of the things you commented about was, I
Here.
normally don't need one, but thank you.
And you are?
Mary Beth Ching, I'm with the York Revolution, the baseball team here in town.
Okay, there you go.
And you can come by later if you'd like. We'd be happy to give you that ball and have you on the field.
I'll be out there all day, by the way.
I was curious when you said it is all about storytelling and engaging all of our visitors to have them experience the area. Outside of what we often try to do and make packages for people if they're booking at a hotel to have other pieces with it, what else can we do to help engage them before they arrive? Or what would be your suggestion to help them fully experience it, other than just leaving it maybe to a front line or a front desk person to help spread
No,
the
you
word?
want to talk to them before they get to the front desk. You're absolutely right. And how you do that is you have the conversation. You don't have to institutionalize something with a package. How about that? In fact, let's use your example, or the example that I brought up about playing in the stadium, okay? If I know I have the option to do that, and it's special that you put together for me, or the hotel where I'm staying has enabled me to do, then I can bring 5 or 6 of my friends and do a pickup game or whatever, and it doesn't have to be in a brochure. And we'll pay for it. Are you kidding? What an experience that is, right? Here's the Field of Dreams image taken one more step. How many people saw the movie, Field of Dreams? Okay, here's what was wrong with the movie. If you build it, they're still not gonna come. You have to give them a reason, and you have to make it special to them, relatable to them, accessible to them. So, when somebody calls a hotel to make a reservation, you need to train your res staff to let people know the cool things they can do while they're at the hotel, before they ever get there. And hey, listen, you know what? If you're coming on a Tuesday night, our team's not playing, would you like to do a game at the stadium just for you? Could I? Yes, you can. Next thing you know, I'm calling 8 of my friends saying, hey, that makes 9, let's go. That's what I'm saying. So it doesn't have to be a package. You don't have to put people in buses. I know you wrapped a bus, congratulations, but you don't have to put them in a bus. In fact, I hate buses. There are 2 reasons why I hate buses. 1, I normally don't know where they're going. And 2, it takes away my options. You want people to have the freedom to say, hey, you know what? On the way back from the stadium, let's go out to Brown's, get some apples. As opposed to, this is what you're doing on the package. You don't have to formalize it that way. Now, there's one other thing I'm going to suggest to you, now that we've already established there are no lawyers in the room. What's the one thing, speaking of those of you who have brochures, which is just about everybody, what's the one thing in a brochure that the minute you see it, you know, whether it's in York or Yugoslavia, the old Yugoslavia, doesn't matter. When you see it, you know that the travel industry is lying to you. What is it? It's a symbol. It's the asterisk. All-inclusive asterisk. Now you go way down to the microscopic type, and what do you find? These are all the things it doesn't include. Wouldn't it be great to get all the lawyers, heavily sedate them, put them over there, right? We live in a world of disclaimers. And why don't you, as a branding item, get everybody in this room together and agree on one thing, that York is going to become an asterisk-free zone. You should be applauding that. Because once you do that, you touch a negative touch point on every traveler who's going to say, boy, I get that, I'm going there. We live in a world of nickel and diming. Nickel and diming. How many of you hoteliers, raise your hands, I'm going to ask you. If I check into your hotel today, is there a bottle of water in the room? You charge for it? Good. I'm staying there. What's more insulting? I posted this on Facebook a couple of weeks ago. I was in Minneapolis. I checked into the Hyatt, right? Was the room nice? You bet. Was it well designed? Yes. Did it have great lighting in there, which is what we all want? Yes. Did I have to crawl around on my hands and knees to find an electrical socket to plug in my electronics? No. They thought of all those things. What was on the desk? A bottle of water with a sign saying, "Quench your thirst, $6.50. I took a photograph of that. Here we go, citizen journalist. I posted it, called "Quench My Anger." Had the most responses ever. Even in the year 2017, we're still not getting it. Don't nickel and dime your guests. Don't be competitive on rate, be competitive on value. So that's why you don't have to do packages, you don't have to do it. Just have conversations. Word of mouth is your best ally when people have great experiences, right? And you don't have to incentivize anybody like they did in that hotel in New Jersey to lie. Oh, one more item I want to bring up, because I mentioned it at the start of my speech and I forgot to fill the cream soda. I want to talk to you about that. They make their own cream soda here. How cool is that? Have you guys tried it? Is it cool? Okay. I want to make my own. How cool is that, right? Come on. I mean, laugh if you will, but people love that. At the very least, they want to see it being made. But if they can get involved, get the lawyers out of the room, sign the disclaimers, you'll be okay. No one's going to get... I know you have fears of 3 killed in free cream soda accident. Not going to happen. Other questions? Students are very quiet today. Oh, we have one over there. Yes.
Will there be a list of everyone that's here and what they do that we could interact?
We'll get that to
Maybe
you, Ralph.
refer
We'll get that to you.
person to
Yes.
a different place for something they're looking for, because they come, they ask me where I can get this and where I can get that. If I have a list, I can show that and give an address and...
And you answered that, right? Yep.
Yeah, I think we can handle that. Make sure
They
we
got
get
it.
that.
Do that.
Okay, thank you.
And I want a list of everybody who's charging for water.
Spare phone line just in case you want
Yes.
to.
You don't have to charge for water in York because, York is known for having some of the best natural tap water around.
Next to New York. New York City water is still the best, I have to tell you. But that's great. But by the way, from a reverse marketing angle, why don't you market yourself as a free water city? You get people there who've been so beaten up by other hotels, they'll just, you think I'm kidding? Forget the guest comment cards. Nobody fills them out anyway. They just post on the web. That's what they do. You're wasting a lot of paper with guest comment cards. Bottom line is, think of all the negative touch points that you experience, not as providers in the travel industry, but as travelers. I'll give you an example. There was a hotel in London that wanted to increase their room rate by about 20 pounds a night, so about $30. And everybody in their organization said, no, you can't do that because you won't be competitive on rate. You won't get anybody to stay here. And the manager of that hotel took a very bold move and said, well, wait a minute, we've already established that we're going to do it, but we've also established what the biggest negative touch point is at this hotel. What pisses people off the most, right, as guests. You know what it was? The minibar. Because everybody coming to the hotel has come off an airplane. They've flown at least 7 hours. And they don't want to spend $9 for a Snickers bar. You've seen those. And let's admit it, if you look at it long enough, you're going to eat it. And then you get really pissed off because it cost you $9. Okay. So what did they do? They said, yeah, we're going to raise the rate, but we're going to do something else. And by the way, they had the old Darth Vader mini bars. You know what I'm talking about? When you approach the mini bar, it says, stay away from the Diet Coke. The infrared bars, you know what I'm talking about. I get to point at you all the time now. So they got rid of all the mini bars. And what do? They replaced them talk about Back to the Future, with actual refrigerators. And what did they put in those refrigerators? Every cookie, candy, cake, fruit juice, soda, water, everything non-alcoholic, and made it free. Guess what happened? Occupancy went up 17%. Nobody bitched about the rate. And there was so much stuff in those refrigerators, you would have had to have been a barricaded suspect for 48 hours to consume all the stuff that was in there, but you loved the idea that you could. There goes back the option idea. That's luxury travel, when you can do something. So think about that, right? As long as you got the water going for you, add a few more things. And then let people just realize the reason to stay there is not only that they know everything about York, and they can turn me on to the baseball stadium, but when I get there, there's a chocolate chip cookie waiting for me that does not require my credit card. Last question?
I think we're going to have to wrap it up.
Okay.
I apologize, folks.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you very much, Peter. We're really looking forward to Like a Local segment here coming out later this year. Obviously, York's got a very special story. We'll try to take some of his suggestions on how to make a more personalized experience to heart. Again, I want to thank all the partners for showing up today. We'd like to recognize the members that are celebrating 10 years. I think you know who you are. I'd like to right behind me. That would make sense. If you could stick around afterwards, we'd like to get some pictures and a plaque to everybody. Thank you again for supporting York County tourism. There'll be a couple of prizes. Take a look at the whiteboards on the outside for the prizes. The poinsettias are going to be given away at the end of the day. Whoever has the birthday closest to today is the lucky recipient of the flowers. We've got a familiarization tour coming up on December 19th for Explore York. Please contact Christina Smith at CVB. The annual reports should be handy. Please take those and share those with everyone to share the good work that we're all doing together. Last but not least, York isn't a big city like Philly and Pittsburgh, but as Peter mentioned, we've got a lot to offer. So we'll keep focusing on that as a group and try to put that together. Maybe we can focus a little bit more on the stories. Maybe we can make some cider. Maybe we can make some soap. I'd like to thank Peter. I'd like to thank the rest of our speakers today, the Perrys. We'd like to thank our hosts again for hosting and look forward to the holiday season together. Happy holidays. Thank you.